All right, well, the midterm elections right around the corner, the economy front and center in all of it. But you know what's very interesting? No turnaround for this economy, but U.S. companies, they're doing really well. Let's bring in Andy Serwer, managing editor of Fortune. So just look at the earnings this week. Spare some of the banks that aren't doing as well as expected. Airlines, Hershey's, you were talking about AT&T. I mean,
right.
Companies are doing great.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, Poppy, that if there are three parts of the economy, the consumer, government, and business being in the best shape, they're able to respond to a downturn quickly by, sadly enough, laying off workers and also paying down debt. Now you're starting to see the fruits of that in terms of profit margins going up because costs are down. Also, quite frankly, and I know it's hard to believe, but the economy is ticking up. Slowly but surely. It's a very slow, uneven, long recovery, but it is a recovery nonetheless. So
here's my question. The White House is getting pounded for a lack of job growth in this country. I was just talking to the CEO of Southwest Airlines who said, look, if we hadn't acquired AirTran, we would have no growth plan. Economy's in terrible shape. Private sector is not hiring. How much onus is on these companies that are doing very well right now to hire? And then they say, but we can't because there's such uncertainty. We don't know what's ahead in terms of taxes. We don't want to make any major moves.
Well, I mean, it's a truth about capitalism and about our society that these CEOs work for the boards work for the shareholders. It's all about the shareholders. I mean, this is not a central planned economy a la China, a la communism, where the government can tell companies what to do. The government cannot tell companies to hire workers. I mean, it's as simple as that. And if that was to be the case, we would be living in a very, very different society. I mean, Poppy, we've seen this before in recoveries. Companies and CEOs are very cautious about hiring. It takes a few quarters. As demand picks up, and we hope it will, then companies will begin to go out and hire because they simply need to. But right now, they're not going to go out and hire thousands of people just in the beginning of the recovery.
Just looking, at what is ahead from the administration, from the Fed, it looks like we'll get QE2, we'll get more quantitative easing. It looks like we might have some form of a second stimulus, even if it's not called a second stimulus from the administration. Business leaders I talk to say, more easing from the Fed is not what we need. It's not going to help. We need a comprehensive jobs plan. But isn't it on them to hire?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, they're only going to hire when they feel confident. And it's very interesting, of course, when you talk about the policies here in the United States versus the policies in Europe. Europe really going down the austerity path, the United States maybe going down the stimulus path. A real, divergence there. What's interesting to me when you talk to business leaders about the election and the possible outcome is, if we have the White House stays obviously in Democratic hands, Congress goes in Republican hands, then you have gridlock, and of course business people like gridlock because there's no new laws and they get to go along their merry way. So I'm hearing a lot of that and sort of some very cautious smiles in private about the possible outcome of the election.
We'll know soon, November 2nd.
That's it.
All right, Andy, thanks.
Thanks, Poppy.